Hey guys, today I want to demonstrate how you can draw skin with just the primary colors. I wanted to do this with colored pencils because I feel like if I were to do this with my watercolors, colors themselves wouldn't be distinguishable after I've mixed them. And as I go on with the drawing, I really want you guys to still see the single colors that make up the whole drawing too. But if you wanted to do this with watercolors, the concept would still carry through with paints as well. So now I'm going to start with the color that's the most noticeable in the reference photo, and usually for portraits that's yellow. And because it's the lightest color too, I want to start with that because then I'd be able to build it up, rather than if I had started with something darker like the blue. Now that I've laid down my yellow, I'm gonna start laying my red on top of that because it's the second color I see on the reference photo. As soon as it starts looking a little too orange, I'm gonna start to bring that down with a little blue. I could really go too much further into it without talking a little bit about color theory. So red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors. These are really the colors that you want to get first if you want to maybe try out a brand and don't want to commit to the price of a full set, because you can't mix any other colors to get any of these three, but all of the other colors come from some combination of them. Now there's nuances to this, but essentially that's how it works. Now these three colors combine to make black, and that's important to note because they also combine to make brown, which is a color you always see in portraits and skin tones. The only thing you really have to do is dial down on the blue if you want a warmer brown, or dial down on the yellow if you're going for a much cooler brown. Now I'm just really gonna continue building this up by layering. And it's important to really pay attention to skin colors because I know it's very easy to disregard the blue in this situation, but a lot of people's skin actually have some hints of green in there, and the blue is really important for that since you mix it with yellow to make green. Now, when I'm working with shadows, I like to start with a darker color. This time I'm going with red just to add contrast to me starting the nose up with the yellow. I really should have started this with a blue, but the red was much safer because it's been a while since I've drawn with colored pencils and I wanted to play it safe while I took the time to let my body get used to the movements of just coloring with colored pencils. Very important to me with the lips was to make sure I started it with yellow so I don't make it straight up just red. And then I add a little of the blue in there to darken it up just a little bit more, and to put the lips on the cooler side of red, making it very close to purple but not quite. The eyes are something I messed up a lot on this piece. On the reference photo, her eyes looked a little bit more blue. On this one, I made them look a little more green than I meant to because I went very slightly over what I'm supposed to with the yellow instead of just doing it as accents to make for hints of green in there. And this is really evidence too of how such little lines could impact your drawing when you're doing something like this with colored pencils. Then really what I'm doing is just adjusting the whole time I'm building up the layers. If it starts to look a little too green, I'll add the red to even it out, and if it's a little too orange, I'll even it out with a little bit of the blue. I'm going to keep going back and forth and on different parts of the photo because as I'm coloring, it's really hard to determine whether I'm right with the colors that I want. So after I'm done with a part of her face, I'll look at it again later to see if it's actually the hues and tones that I want, and then I'll adjust after. Now her eyebrows are just a mix of all three colors, really my half-hearted attempt of a dark brown, because I was already planning on going over them with a black pencil after anyway, so I wasn't really paying much attention to that. And then you really see the importance of starting with the blue for the dark areas, because since I've started with something so dark, I'm really gonna get in there with my other colors, so then it looks really nice and saturated. And then I want to make sure I end it with a blue too, to make sure the shadows are on the cooler side, in contrast to our warmer sides of her face. Working in layers is really important when you're drawing with colored pencils. So you really want to alternate between the colors until you get the hues that you want. I've found it good to end with the colors that are the dominant color on that part of the face. So on her cheeks and on her nose, where there are hints of a blush, I'm gonna make sure that the last color I put on those parts is red. And the same goes with yellow for the highlights and blue for the shadows. Choosing your colored pencils is the key to layering. There are some colored pencils that are more waxy and don't really layer too much, and then there are some that are oil based that layer a little bit better. I'm using my Holbein colored pencils, which I think are great for layering, but I haven't really tried all the other brands out there, so I can't personally do a comparison. And your paper is a factor too. Some artists prefer a rougher paper, so there's more of a grip to the tooth, and therefore you can layer a bit more. I'm actually using a very smooth paper, the Strathmore Bristol. So I'm not gonna do that many layers to this piece, but I did make sure to sharpen my colored pencils the whole time because I know that would help. This is a good exercise to remember the complementary colors, because whatever two colors you mix, the color that's left is its complementary color. So if you mix the yellow and a red to make an orange, then you'll know that blue is its complementary color. And if you mix red and blue to make a violet, then you know its complementary color is yellow. It's important because you can use a color's complement to dull it down if it's looking a little too bright, or to mix them together to get something dark. These colors have the most contrast when placed side by side too, so you can use them for your other projects if you want to create something really graphic and striking. And then I'm just gonna go over her eyebrows and her hair after I've done with everything with the dark pencil. I want to keep it simple so the focus of the whole piece remains on her face. Now this whole tutorial is for a very fair skin tone, but I feel like this is actually harder to get right because you can't really do that many layers without oversaturating the colors, and it's very hard to get the right hues when your layers are limited. So I'm definitely planning on doing a darker skin tone tutorial, but only after I've done with the other video ideas on my list. So watch out for those too, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.